Hey everybody, it's Ron, and welcome back to Batman Book Club. Today I'm going to be talking about The Long Halloween, written by Jeff Loeb with art by Tim Sale. And I have to say, this was a joy to reread. I have very fond memories of buying this when I was younger. I remember I was doing yard work at my grandpa's and he gave me $20, so I went right over to Borders. Does anyone remember that store? They went out of business a little while ago, but it was pretty much the same thing as Barnes & Noble. And they had a great collection of Batman graphic novels. And after I had already devoured Year One and Dark Knight Returns, I did my research and found out that The Long Halloween was a must-read. So I picked that up, and I got this copy, which I don't think you can get anymore. It's a pretty simple design, but it has a lot of sentimental value to me because it reminds me of just starting to get into Batman comics, and it definitely changed my life. But anyway, nostalgia doesn't really have anything to do with why I think it's one of the best Batman stories, because it still holds up. It's so well told, and the art might be my favorite art in any Batman book ever. I'm not sure if Tim Sale is an acquired taste or not, and I know his style has changed a little bit throughout the years, but this stage in his career was a real highlight, and you could tell he took this material very seriously. It's just so fun to look at, and I also have to say, this is not something I talk about a lot when I'm reviewing comics, but I also think this is my favorite lettering in any comic book, done by Richard Starkings and Comicraft. And I can't really tell you exactly why, it's just visually pleasing to me. Some comics look like a chore to read, and there are word balloons everywhere, and the art doesn't get to shine as much. But this comic has the perfect balance, and it's cliche to say this, but it really is one of those stories that's hard to put down. A lot of credit goes to Gregory Wright as well for making everything pop. I would also recommend reading this story physically as well. I just don't know if it would have the same effect digitally, but it's probably still worth it if that's the easiest way for you to read it, because the story is so good. So The Long Halloween is another Batman tale that takes place earlier in his career, and it expands on the crime families first introduced in Batman Year One. And this is really cool because we're reintroduced to Carmine Falcone, and he even has the scratch on his face from Catwoman in Year One, so you really feel like you're reading a progression of that story, and it goes into more detail about the Falcone family and his rival Salvatore Maroni, and all of this stuff is set up in a great Godfather-esque way in the first issue, and then the story ramps up almost immediately when members of the Falcone family are being taken out one by one each holiday. And the fun thing about this book is each issue you get a different holiday with a different villain, and Jeff Loeb is really smart about this because this book might have been a little one note if it only concentrated on Batman trying to take down the mob and solve a murder mystery, but he also incorporates almost every prominent Batman villain to make this book more colorful. This was also probably done to give the fans what they want, but it definitely adds some variety to the overall story that he was trying to tell. I thought he also did a good job with that in Hush as well, but that's a video for a different day. So aside from the mystery of who this holiday killer is, the heart of this story is really the relationship that forms between Gordon, Harvey Dent, and Batman. And movies like The Dark Knight took so much from this comic. The whole dynamic was explored in that movie, and they did a pretty good job with their own interpretation, but in my opinion, this is a little better because there's so much time to develop this camaraderie between these three, and they make a pact to bring down Falcone, which sets up a lot of problems for all of them, especially Harvey Dent. His relationship with Gilda is a great way to show his mental state when he's away from Gordon and Batman, and he slowly unravels until Sal Maroni throws acid in his face, turning him into the iconic Two-Face that we all know. There are little hints that Loeb gives before this eventually happens, with little comments Dent says about criminals that rub Gordon the wrong way, and he lays the groundwork so well that when Harvey eventually turns into Two-Face, you believe that he was driven over the edge. The relationship between Catwoman and Batman is perfect in this book as well. They have such a cool chemistry, and it's a really unique pairing in comics that Loeb stays true to. The only minor thing that I noticed on this reread that I thought was a little goofy was Catwoman actually making sounds like a cat when she's doing her detective work, listening in on the Falcones. And I thought that was a little weird, but then again, I am reading a book about a guy in a bat suit, so it's just a little nitpick. Other than that, I think this is damn near perfect. All of the scenes with the Calendar Man helping out in a Hannibal Lecter type of way are highlights, and it's just so fun to read. The Joker, the Riddler, Scarecrow, and Mad Hatter all have cool cameos that somehow don't bog down the story, like I said earlier, and that's because Jeph Loeb is just a really talented writer. The reveal of who the Holiday Killer is unexpected and cool, and I definitely noticed the noir influence while reading this again after so many years, and that added to my enjoyment of it even more. So yeah, this is another fantastic Batman story to pick up if you're just getting into the comics, and I'll eventually talk about this book's sequel titled Dark Victory, which is actually very good in its own right. So please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and thanks for watching. Hey everyone, it's Ron here with a quick announcement. When I started this channel, I was reading and reviewing the Dune books and other sci-fi related material, and most of you might not know that I'm also a musician. So when I was reading these sci-fi books, I started to get inspired and decided to make my own soundtrack to use for my videos, and now I'm excited to tell you all about the first volume in the Ron Reviews original soundtrack collection. This album includes the first 17 tracks featured on my channel, and it's available now exclusively on Bandcamp. Be sure to check the description of this video for the link to the album. Thanks so much for the support so far. I know I'm just starting out, but I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So check out the original soundtrack Volume 1 on Bandcamp. This music is great if you want something moody and atmospheric to listen to while you're reading some science fiction. I think you're going to love it. Thanks.